Welcome to the Switchblade Sisters Social Club, a true crime podcast where two sisters exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome. I'm Dee.
And I'm Rhonda, and together we are the Sake Sisters. For more information, check out our website at www.switchbladesistersocialclub.com or find us on Instagram and Facebook at Switchblade Sisters Social Club.
Thanks for listening. Welcome to our brand new and improved podcast, the Switchblade Sisters Social Club. Woo! So this is a true crime podcast where two sisters exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome. So my name is Dee, and this is my sister Rhonda, and we are the Sake Sisters. Hi. Say hi.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. We should say right off the bat. My sister's nickname since we were teenagers is Wretched. So... sometimes I call her that. So just you should know this.
There's not an extra person in the podcast. It's just the two of us.
Yeah. So please do come visit us, switchbladesistersocialclub.com. You've got links to all our socials on there. You've got our shop with our merch, which we're super excited about, aren't we? Because
very. Hello. Hello, merchandise.
You know, for Christmas, I ordered our parents 2 of these.
Love it. They'll love it too.
And I'm really excited because I'm wearing, let me try to move so you can see.
Oh,
I can't go any higher than this. And something arrived in the post this morning.
Oh, is that mine?
It's yours. Look, it's got our logo on it.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I'm gonna just pop it here for branding purposes. There you go. You can see our little faces. We wanted to go for creepy clown carnival vibes. I think we succeeded.
Dark carnival. That was the brief, huh?
Yeah. So, yeah, do find us online. You can also work with us on your podcasts, writing, and website needs. We have a bunch of different skills and skill sets that we offer. We have a very particular set of skills, don't we?
Help us help you. Get in touch. We want to help you guys with your podcast. And your socials.
So between us, we do a lot of writing, we do a lot of podcast editing, we make websites and so forth. But I wanted to save, I just got commissioned to write an article.
Okay, about what?
Pop it in the show links, in the show notes, if they actually decide to publish it. But I'm so excited.
What's it about?
It's an article. It's for a magazine that specializes in the Middle East. For those of you who don't know us, we are half Belgian, half Palestinian. And so they want me to write an article reviewing all of the new reality TV shows set in Dubai.
Oh my God. Do you know what?
Like,
I just finished watching The Real Housewives of Dubai. Loved it.
So you're saying I get to watch this trashy TV?
Yes.
And that's my job? Yes.
Do you know what? Dee is very humble about what she does because she's actually a journalist. She calls herself a writer, but she's actually a journalist, multiple times published journalist, who actually wrote several times for the Pod Bible and lots of other publications.
Thanks, my little hype woman. So yeah, I'll post, if they do take it on, I will post it in the show links. But that's what I'm doing this weekend.
Love that.
Yeah, and so basically this podcast came about because you used to be a regular guest on my previous podcast, We Knew the Moon.
Yep.
And I worked very hard to convince you, and I finally did, to be my regular co-host.
And now I'm piggybacking off of your success.
Woohoo! So
your hard-earned success.
So do check out, if you can't get enough of us, because we're so freaking adorable. Please do check out past episodes with, well, all of the past episodes are amazing, but you can check out, there's a whole bunch with my sister as the co-host. So we covered Anton LaVey. That one caused some family dramas where my dad misunderstood and thought that we had both converted to Satanism.
Yeah, that's a true story.
True story. Yeah, what else did we cover? We covered
urban legends.
Urban legends.
Hybristophilia.
Oh my God, that was such a good one. Yes, and go check them out. Go check them out. But basically, that podcast just seemed to get darker and darker and darker. It took a turn.
Direction.
It escalated real quick. So it made sense to rebrand and start fresh with this podcast. Yeah, which, you know, we needed to rebrand for what it really is, and that's our morbid
And
anxiety.
you know what? Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just saying that we wanted to explore our morbid, anxiety-driven fascination into true crime cases.
Yeah, and you know, we were really deliberating over what genre this was going to be, because we knew, you know, we love true crime, we like spooky, weird shit, mysterious stuff, and then we thought true crime comedy, and then we weren't sure if we were funny enough.
Yeah, what if we
So
label it as
true crime?
Yeah, what if we label it as a comedy podcast, but no one finds us funny? Because we think we're hilarious.
Well, you're the funniest person that I know.
You're the funniest person I know.
Okay, well, we have an audience of 2.
Okay. Yeah,
and
those
you know
two
what?
being you and me, not our parents.
Yeah.
I don't think they've listened to one
No,
episode.
no, and please let them not.
Yeah.
But you know what? I bet people are thinking, oh, good, great, another true crime podcast hosted by 2 nearly middle-aged women drinking wine. But that's only half true.
Yeah, we're drinking coffee.
Yeah, we're not drinking wine because I got to do the school run later, so that's irresponsible behavior.
I
The
mean,
rest is true.
I will probably be drinking wine at some point. But yeah, I'm mainly fueled by coffee these days. So
I mean, I think it would be a good idea if we recorded a late night wine fueled podcast at some point. What else do we think our listeners want to know about us before we get going?
you have 2 amazing twins and have been with your now husband for
Oh no, I was going to ask about you.
Years.
What do they want to know about you?
I was telling you interesting facts about you.
Oh, God. Okay.
And then you could tell some interesting facts about me.
Okay, cool. Okay.
You're a former teacher,
Mhm.
music teacher, background in music and culture and music tech. And you've been published because you are one of the world's sole experts in Palestinian hip hop.
True. Go on YouTube. You'll see.
She's been on the BBC.
Very niche market, that.
Oh, we should pop your BBC interview in the show notes as well, because it's legendary.
Voice of America and Reuters, but anyway, you know, I don't mean to brag.
Yeah. So, and you've got 2 amazing twins, Che and Rio, a boy and a girl. Che named after Che Guevara, Rio named after...
Deanna, your intro is getting so long. I'm trying to think of what I'm going to say about you.
Oh, okay.
But that's my life, yeah.
Well, do you know, I wanted to our dad, both of our dads, same dad, same mum, he asked why we're into all this morbid stuff, and we're former goths. We've shared pictures before. We'll do it again. I found a whole stack of pictures, so we're going to be sharing them, drip feeding them to you guys on Throwback Thursday. Like
in the 90s, you were either into the Spice Girls or you were a goth.
Basically.
Or grunge. We
grunged, and then we progressed to goth, and then kind of punk at some point in the middle. But I told my dad, like, our mom is fascinated with Agatha Christie, and we'd always get together, watch Poirot and Miss Marple. Our dad was, bless him, not great with 2 small daughters. I think a lot of people with fathers can relate that they don't know how to interact with girls and young girls. They don't know
kids.
what kids in general. But yeah, our dad particularly, he tried. He just didn't know. We didn't have much common ground at that point. And so when he did tell us stories and bedtime stories and stuff, it would be about like Che Guevara, Mahatma Gandhi,
Yasser Arafat,
Yasser Arafat, which... And they were very rarely abridged or censored for the child audience.
Yeah.
So,
I remember learning from a young age, happy people have no history. That one was Tolstoy.
Yeah.
That was the kind of, theme of the stories we were told.
So we grew up hearing, and plus, being Palestinian, it's quite depressing at times. And we were always grown up knowing about our backgrounds and everything. So I would say we were just like, naturally inclined and then nurtured to be more
if I were to say something a little more superficial, it's that we grew up in an era when Are You Afraid of the Dark was on Nickelodeon after school.
Yeah. And also 70s and 80s,
Mm.
very cult driven, satanic
Yeah.
panic, all of that kind of stuff. And we were born in the 80s. So I think it was just a hangover from that
Yeah.
as well.
Completely. We were products
yeah.
of our time, completely. We're still stuck in that sort of 90s culture, I actually think. I haven't
for
sort of
sure.
left it. I haven't left that era.
I don't want to.
No.
We Knew the Moon, the episodes that we feature on, is almost like a love song, a love ballad to the 90s, in that we often reference amazing 90s movies.
Yeah.
I'm sure we still will.
This episode we're gonna. I feel like us referencing the 90s when our parents used to talk about the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very specific time. Any of you out there in your 30s, 40s, basically our generation, you'll get it.
I have to give your intro.
Oh yeah, tell them.
So my sister Dee, she is the OG of this podcast, by the way. She is the grandmaster, in fact, and she definitely is pulling her weight a lot more than I am. So I made sure I life. Completely. It is the story of our life. In fact, this whole podcast is the story of our life, because this is just continuing the ancient tradition of Dee telling me scary stories for monetary gain. And if I were to go back and tell that story from the beginning, back in the day, you see, I was one of these weird kids where I was fucking terrified all the time. Fucking terrified. I was always afraid. Everything fucking scared me. But then I'd still go back to Dee to tell her, like, for her to tell me stories about the Headless Horseman and like all sorts of scary shit. I would go back for more. So she would then terrify me. She's a great storyteller. And then I would get so freaked out that I'm like, oh my God, I can't sleep in my own room at night. I can't. So I go get some 20p from my mother so that I could pay Dee rent and sleep in her room. And this lasted a long time. So Dee, she was entrepreneurial from a young age, but also a very good storyteller. That's kind of how this podcast came to be, that we're just, as we said, reliving the 90s. Except today,
in modern day, I think our anxiety contributes to it, in the sense that I just need to know worst case scenarios.
I know, we're just every day trying to stay alive, you know?
Yeah. So, and if that makes me a paranoid, blubbering mess, so be it.
Yeah. So let me tell you more about Dee. So Dee, I tell you something about Dee. Not one single person has a bad word to say about Dee. That's right, huh? Not one single person has a bad. Dee has
ex-husband might.
I got a lot of bad words about that guy. But you know, it never ended well when I went there, and I don't want to cease and desist in the first episode. No one's ever got a bad word to say about Dee. Anyone you speak to will just tell you that Dee has a heart of gold, which is true. She's charitable. In fact, she worked most of her career for charities. She has a whole museum of animals in her home, from like every kind of reptile. I mean, she loves the underdog. You know, Dee will always champion the underdog, you know, and be there for people who need help, like the broken souls. Going back to her pets, she really has some fucking ugly pets, like some sort of snail, some sort of dragon.
No, the snail passed away.
Oh shit! How did I not know that? Okay, I'm sorry. He was cute.
Marcel the shell.
Oh God, wow. I'm sorry. So awkward. Shit.
I cried.
I'm sorry.
Okay, he was a rescue, and he didn't have long left to live, and he was a giant African land snail, so he's about 30 centimeters long. Sorry, Rhonda's throwing up in her mouth. And his last meal was watermelon, which he loved. He used to, like, as much as a snail can run, he used to run towards it.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, and now I'm thinking, what animal is this one going to be replaced with?
No, so I've made a pact no more, because to be honest,
please.
For sake, the heartache.
Can I just ask, nobody offered Dee a rescue pet, because she'll fucking take it.
You'll be so proud of me. I still think about it, and I might change my mind, but so far I'm holding out on adopting a tortoise.
Oh, I can deal with that. That's cute. I can deal with that. He will outlive you. Or she.
Yes, I would love that.
It's a commitment.
I would love not to have the heartache.
Oh, yeah, true. Okay, well, then you don't have that problem. Okay. I mean, really, I think the fundamental thing about Dee, she's fucking capable. Like, whenever you're around Dee, she'll do everything for you, like everything. You know, recently, if you look at our socials, Dee went to Romania with our mother. And my mom said, like, it was the most relaxing time she's ever had on holiday. She never had to think about a thing. Dee is nurturing and mothering to a T, faultlessly selfless. Like, if ever there was somebody, if ever, it's true though, huh? If ever there was somebody who was faultlessly selfless and self-sacrificing, it's Dee. I mean, you should be more selfish. You know, put yourself first. But anyway, so that's Dee. Just fundamentally a good person.
We always joke about, I bet loads of siblings have this dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
You are also capable, very capable.
But when I'm around you,
I know. The minute you get back in my presence, you are back to like,
I don't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, because the thing is, Dee, you're so fucking good at everything. The thing is, whatever I can do, you can do it better and more efficiently. And you want to do it. That's the thing, you want to do it.
I think it's because I'm a control freak. freak. So I'm like, I mean, honestly, you know what? Let me just do it.
Planning these Hender was the best because she like did it, you know? I just had to
We had to pretend that it was remember, we pretended it was like a surprise for me, but really I'd organized all of it.
Yeah, she loves the spreadsheet. And the thing is, all I had to do for that was attack bailiff people for their payments, and then the rest of it, you just had it under control. So that's the thing. If you're friends with Dee, if you're in Dee's orbit, you will be looked after like in a 5-star fucking way.
Oh, well, let's move on because we don't want to nose people out too much before we've even started. But okay, cool. But start on a nice happy note. Thank you.
I think they know like everything about us. Oh, the other thing is we do talk a lot about we do go off on tangents about we're very socially conscious, politically conscious people. We do go off on tangents a lot. So although our topics are true crime and spooky stuff, we do talk about a lot of things. Also, for example, neurodiversity is a big thing in our lives. Deanna is dyslexic. My twins are autistic. So that's a big part of our story. So we will, you know.
And Palestine.
Well, that too. Yeah. We have multiple chips on our shoulder. Multiple. It gets heavy sometimes.
It does. So we turn to this for light relief.
You know, we're two old broads trying to look for some fulfillment in our lives outside of work and family. And you're subjected to that.
I mean, we really do. We love recording together.
We do.
It's so nice. We love the research. I love it because, you know, we went to university, both of us, and got degrees and whatnot. The thing that I hated about going to uni was doing the exams and writing the essays. Love research because I went to uni for a subject that I really loved. I know you did as well. Love the research. If we could go back and like do the modules and do the research and then make a podcast episode about it, I would have loved that. But sitting 100%. Down, again, possibly influenced by my dyslexia, sitting down and writing an exam or doing essays about it, that bit was less fun.
Boring.
So this podcast enables us to research things that we're absolutely fascinated about, the psychology of people's minds that we like to think is very distant to our own. And then just talk about it. It's like a dream medium for us, isn't it? Completely. All right. Okay. So on that note, I'm so excited. So wait, first of all, I just want to say, when we were planning this podcast, the first couple of episodes, we communicated about what we were going to cover. I think the first 4 episodes. Yeah. So these are not a surprise to each other. But from then on, because I really loved the big reveal when I used to tell what topic I was covering, it was amazing. And we wanted to make sure we could do that. So we've introduced our mother into the mix, Crystal Leclerc-Safier. She is, we've given her the title of podcast manager, but basically what she is the keeper of the list. So we will communicate with her as a third party what topics we want to do, and she'll just make sure that we, meaning the other one of us, has not already claimed it as their own. So after episode 4, we will be surprising each other with our topics. But the first 4 episodes, we do know. So I know that you are covering Brittany Murphy today and the very sad story of her life. And it is. It's a really sad story. It's a really fucking interesting story, but it's a really sad one. And I remember being so shocked at the time because I really, you know, I'm not really into films because I don't have a long attention span. Same. But I like series because like
the action moves faster. Do you know what I mean? The story moves whenever there's a lull in a story, I'm fucking out. I'm done, you know?
Isn't it weird, though, that you're like, oh, no, I've not got the headspace for a film now. Let's watch a TV series and watch 8 episodes of it instead.
I can binge a TV, but it's because the pace is quicker. That's what it is. The film, it's like, oh, God. Sometimes it takes an hour before you even know what the fuck's going on, and I can't with that. I really can't. So, anyway, what was my point? Yeah, my point was that although I'm not really that into films, I really fucking love Brittany Murphy because, I mean, she was, talking of the 90s, she was in Sister Sister, she was in Boy Meets World, she was in Party of Five. I mean, who the fuck didn't watch those in the 90s? And then her breakthrough role was Clueless, and that is a film I watched to death, like triple figures times. Yeah. that was a film that defined that era, like the clue, and it even aged well. If you watch it now, it aged well. You know, not many things from the 90s have aged well.
Really haven't. You have to make a lot of No, you definitely have to make a lot of allowances when you watch your nostalgia films, I think.
Yeah,
but yeah, that one,
it's okay. You know,
they handled. Yeah, love it. And so I just want to give a shout out while we're talking about Clueless. Paul Rudd.
Yeah, Paul Rudd, Hollywood's nice guy, huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think. Speaking of people that no one has a bad word to say about.
Yeah,
he's
I recently read a nice story about him actually. Giving some guy in a shop a massive tip because I can't remember what the story was, but he just gave somebody like several $100s, and just Hollywood's nice guy. And he hasn't fucking aged. He's like in his 50s now. How do you do it?
Famous when he was in Clueless. So yeah. Anyways, and he deserves a shout out.
Yeah, great actor. In fact, all of them were good. Don't know what happened to Alicia Silverstone. What happened to her?
Oh, she was huge in the 90s as well. Yeah. I think she kind of retired.
Remember Travis? He was cool.
Oh, I love Travis.
Yeah,
Travis was one I liked.
Yeah,
I know anyway, he was in a couple of films. Can I tell the
fucking story?
Sorry. Yes, you asked the question.
I know. Yeah, I did, but I just want to tell the story now.
I want to hear it, so I'm going to stay quiet, which is great for an audio podcast.
So Brittany Murphy, she was an American actress, but she was also a singer. A lot of people didn't know that about her. She was born. Yeah, she was a singer. I mean, remember she did actually sing like a line. Rolling with the Homies in Clueless. Yeah. She was born in Atlanta, but she was raised in New Jersey and then moved to Los Angeles as a teenager to pursue her career in acting. She tragically died when she was only 32 in 2009. She collapsed in her home, and then she died 2 hours later in the hospital. And the thing is, it's really sad, and I feel that I don't like it when people say, "Oh, she was so talented, she was so pretty." It was so sad because she was, so sad that she died because she was so pretty and so talented. Because like everyone's death is tragic, whether they were talented or
shit actress.
Yeah, it's still sad.
It's still sad.
And we shouldn't measure the value of someone's life by their contribution to society, because we're not here to serve. That is not the sole purpose of our existence. But anyway, she was really talented and really funny, and I don't laugh like it takes a lot to make me laugh, actually. There's very few films that have made me laugh. Hers have made me laugh. Jennifer Aniston's have made me laugh. The Hangover and Superbad.
Superbad.
Yeah, and Summer Heights High. There's very few things that have made me fucking laugh out loud, and she did. And she also had like this really beautiful face where she looked like Disney had drawn her, because she had like massive big Bambi eyes, really pouty lips, and a heart-shaped face. She really had a great look.
She was so super cute, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. And it was
like
actually,
you wanted to be her friend. If you didn't fancy her, you wanted to hang out with her.
Yeah, and she would have been 45 now had she been alive. So her big role was as Ty Frazier in Clueless in 1995, and she also had other roles in 8 Mile with Eminem. She was in Sin City, Uptown Girl. She was in quite a lot of A Girl Interrupted, Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Oh my god, she was so good in that.
Yeah. So on December 20th, 2009, she died under disputed circumstances. The coroner's verdict was pneumonia, which was made worse by anemia and the misuse of various prescription medicines. She had at the time 14 different medicines in her system. that weren't prescribed to her. Yeah.
Whoa.
So I'm going to get into that.
Whoa.
Yeah. Ugh. She was not
taking 14. If you had 14 medicines prescribed to you, that's a fuck ton.
Yeah.
At that young age.
But they weren't, and they were prescribed some of them to her husband. His dosages. This guy was fucking huge. She was tiny. So there was a lot of rumors, and I'm going to get into that, about cocaine use, which wasn't the case. That wasn't the case, but I'm going to go into that. So her backstory. So she was born Brittany Ann Bertolotti to Sharon Murphy and Angelo Bertolotti, who divorced when she was 2. Her dad was proudly involved with the mafia and even served 9 years in prison for them. He was basically gone the first few years of her life, and he was mainly raised by her mother. They had a very close relationship, borderline codependent. But her dad, growing up, wasn't around much. Dodgy guy, you did time in jail for the mob to do with fraud and racketeering. So she was raised by her mother in New Jersey. And interestingly, her dad wasn't named as her father on her death certificate. So Brittany said her mother never tried to stifle her creativity, and she considered her mother a crucial factor in her success. And she said, when I asked my mom to move to California, she sold everything and moved out there for me. She always believed in me. Or the cynic in me might say she was cashing in. We shall see. You can make your mind up. So her her big role was in Clueless, and that really developed a cult following. So that's when she really, although she'd been in sort of TV shows like Boy Meets World, Sister, that was when she really shot to fame. And you remember her iconic line that she delivered with perfection, like, "You're a virgin who can't drive." Exactly like that. That was perfect. Yeah. Her delivery was perfection. So in 2002, she began dating Ashton Kutcher, who was her co-star in Just Married. That's a great film, really funny. I like it a lot. She was also previously engaged to a talent manager called Jeff Quatinetz, then became engaged to Joe Macaluso in December. Put your hand down. Because it's just this. Like a claw. Yeah. Actually, it's good that you interrupted me because that date is wrong. So she was also engaged to Joe Macaluso, who's a production assistant, while they were working on a film called Little Black Book. She was also linked to Eminem when they filmed 8 Mile together. And she married in May 2007. She married British screenwriter Simon Monjack in a private ceremony in Los Angeles. This is where it all fucking went wrong. And before we go dark, can I just say, why the fuck did we go see 8 Mile in the cinema with our parents? I don't know. Let's move on. Whose idea was that? I don't know. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know. Okay, so then in the early 2000s, Brittany lost, in the early 2000s, she lost a lot of weight. And this led to a lot of tabloid speculation that she was doing coke, that she had a coke addiction, because she really became very worryingly thin. She looked ill. Yeah. Well, as it happens, she was. And there was, I think it's horrible that there was that rumor going around that she was a coke addict, because that wasn't in her system at all. And she didn't do drugs, and apparently she didn't even drink much. That's a very lazy, easy accusation to make, I think, especially of celebrities. Just the assumption that they're probably getting wasted and whatever. Yeah. And in 2005, she disputed the claims to a magazine called Jane, and she said, "No, just for the record, I have never tried it in my entire life." Okay, that I don't believe. But anyway. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but it wasn't in her system or the coroner's report. And you know what? It's, again, she was in a period that wasn't very good to women, Media was not kind to women. Look what they did to Britney Spears. So she had a huge physical transformation, with people close to her saying that, and an agent telling her that she was huggable but not fuckable. And Brittany Murphy, recalls that moment as being humiliating for her. What? Yeah, it's such a horrible word, because, and I remember reading recently that Naomi Watts the actress who's in The Watcher and loads of other things, said that she was recently told by some Hollywood high-up dickhead that now that she's over 40, she's no longer fuckable. Like, why is this a word that's being used in the workplace or at all? And why is it not being used about men? Why is it only women? I mean, we know because the world
that is not
horrendous.
the kind of word you should ever hear.
Yeah,
in the
and
professional
who still
workplace.
says that? Yeah, and who still says that? It doesn't feel like an asshole, you know? Who actually says that, you know? Anyway, so at 8 a.m. on December 20th, the Los Angeles Fire Department responded to a medical request at her home. Her mother made the call. And interestingly, when she made the call, she said someone's collapsed. She didn't say my daughter. I don't know if that's relevant, but it's an interesting choice of wording.
It's
whatever.
weird. It's definitely weird.
Her mother was weird, and we're going to go into that.
Yeah.
She had apparently collapsed in the bathroom. Firefighters attempted to resuscitate her at the scene. She was then transported to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where she died 2 hours later at 10 after going to cardiac arrest. So an autopsy was performed the day after she died. And the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office, in a report issued in February, said that the manner of death was accidental and that the cause of death was pneumonia, with secondary factors of severe iron deficiency, so anemia, and multiple drug intoxication. So this is the official verdict. She had pneumonia, that is true. She did have severe anemia, and she did have 14 different over-the-counter drugs in her system. Some of them were propranolol, which is a blood pressure medication, but it's also for anti-anxiety and also migraines. I used to take it for migraines. She also had Topiramax, which was for anti-seizures. Interestingly, I also used to take that for migraines because it's for a lot of different things. But she didn't have seizures, so that was actually Simon's prescription. So she had a lot of drugs in her system that weren't to do with her condition, which is weird. So they found a range of over-the-counter and prescription medications in her system, and the most likely reason being to treat a cold or respiratory infection, and she had elevated levels of hydrocone, acetaminophen, which I think is paracetamol. Oh God, something with a really long name. Meth, which apparently was from an inhaler. Yeah, to help her breathe. And chlorpheniramine, all of which are legal. Yeah. The report said
are legal or illegal?
They're legal.
Legal.
Prescription. The report said their prescription, not necessarily hers.
Yeah.
The possible adverse physiological effects of elevated levels of these medications cannot be discounted, especially in her weakened state. She had apparently been suffering flu-like symptoms for weeks prior to her death, but was too weak to cough up the mucus, which contributed to her death. That's the thing, when you've got pneumonia and you need to cough it up, so, she had really thick mucus, apparently, that she just didn't have the strength to cough up, and that was affecting her breathing. Now, apparently, she had a doctor's appointment booked the next day, and had she been sooner, they could have prevented her death. So, anyway, there's more. So on the 24th, Christmas Eve, she was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills. In January, so the month after her death, Monjack, her husband, and her mother Sharon claimed that she did not use alcohol or other drugs, and that drugs did not cause her death. Instead, they attributed it to a heart condition, mitral valve prolapse. So apparently she did have a heart murmur as a kid, and she said that's the reason she didn't do drugs. Illegal ones, anyway. The Los Angeles County Coroner determined that her anemia, due to being so underweight, was a major factor in her death. So he said, to develop anemia of this nature, she was not eating. Not only did Monjack, her future husband, foster Brittany's grave condition, he also allegedly refused to take her to the doctor when she fell seriously ill in her final days. And that is an ongoing theme, that they didn't go to the doctor. They were worried about going to the doctor. She had collapsed several times in the day before her death, and her mother nor husband took her to the doctor.
I can't even imagine.
I know. I know. Honestly, I'm so angry with her mother, because I just don't understand that instinct not kicking in to take her to the fucking doctor.
I mean, I think about our mom, and it's like,
she's still worried that we're going to get cold. Yeah.
Let's go to the hospital. I've just coughed once. It's okay. And like our daily COVID updates and all sorts. I just can't imagine.
Yeah. So on May 23rd, 5 months later, Simon Monjack, her husband, was found dead at the same Hollywood Hills residence. So he was found dead 5 months later of the same thing. The coroner's report attributed his death to acute pneumonia and severe anemia. Interesting that it's exactly the same. But at the same time, is it that weird because they were living in the same conditions? Apparently, they bought Britney Spears' house, interestingly enough. They were living in Britney Spears' old house. But apparently, as soon as they got married, they were cooped up in this house. People didn't see them leaving. Apparently, they were doing crazy things like boarding up the windows. Apparently, Britney's mother said that they were hoarders. And there's a video I'm going to talk about in a bit. And yeah, I saw their house. They were hoarders. Like, I mean, there was stuff everywhere. And like, if you see Simon filmed a video with Radar Online after she died, where he showed the bathroom where she collapsed, and there was literally no single surface clear, full of products, pills, everything, not single surface clear, like real hoarders. And so also a lot of people have said that they died due to like mold in their house, and there was mold in their house. That was ruled out, but they weren't living in great conditions, cooped up in there, boarding up windows, mold in the house. Oh, I don't know. It just doesn't sound great. So it was reported by the Department of Health that they considered toxic mold in their house as a possible cause of the deaths, but this was dismissed by the Assistant Chief Coroner, Ed Winter, who stated that there was no indicators that mold was a factor. Sharon, the mother, lived in that house as well. She is still alive. Sharon described the reports of mold contributing to deaths as absurd and went on to state that inspecting the home for mold was never requested by the health department. So who knows? I don't know. So in December 2011, 2 years after Brittany died, Sharon changed her stance, announcing that toxic mold was the reason that her daughter died and her son-in-law, and she filed a lawsuit against the attorneys who represented her in an earlier suit against the builders of the home where her daughter and son-in-law died.
Well, hang on a minute. I thought that it was proven in the autopsy that it wasn't mold.
Yeah.
And then she's coming out and saying, oh, no, it was mold.
Yeah, I mean, she is a questionable character. I'm going to go into her in a bit more detail.
Yeah.
But in January 2012, Brittany's dad, Angelo, applied to the Superior Court of California. He resurfaced after she died, requesting that the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office be required to hand over samples of his daughter's hair for independent testing. The suit was dismissed 7 months later after her dad failed to attend 2 separate hearings. I don't know, I think this guy's a son of a bitch too. I think everyone in her life was a toxic leech, but
so he wanted to get her hair.
So they did test her hair in the end, and they found, I think, 12 metals in her hair. He wanted her to be exhumed because they found the metals in her hair. Sharon refused to have her exhumed. So there was this big rumor that the metals in her hair was arsenic poisoning, but then it was decided that it was actually her hair dye.
Ooh.
Yeah, because her mother became not a suspect of the law, but there was a rumor that her mother, you know, the fact that they both died, Simon and Brittany, in the same circumstances, their mother lived with them, that it was arsenic poisoning. But so that's a rumor.
Wait, is there arsenic in hair dye? Or is the arsenic in the hair the rumor?
Do you know, it's funny because that's immediately what I thought. Is there arsenic in hair dye? There's metals, apparently, toxic metals in hair dye. I don't know why that would be confused with arsenic. Let's look into that because that fucking scares me. So
I mean, I know there's like, you know, if you're pregnant, you're not advised to use a lot of hair dyes for that reason and stuff.
But so they didn't end up exhuming the body to test for whether she had arsenic in her system. So that rumor kind of just went away. But in 2013, her dad, Angelo, claimed that a toxicology report showed that deliberate poisoning by heavy metals, including antimony and barium, was a possible cause of his daughter's death. But yeah, Sharon just described this as a smear, this claim, and it did just die off. He did, Angelo, after Brittany died, he did resurface and apparently, you know, really tried to find out what happened to her. He died in 2017, never knowing. So that's sad. But to be fair, the guy was a prick as well. He wasn't in her life much. So in 2021, HBO Max aired a documentary called What Happened, Brittany Murphy. And they were sort of covering the mystery around her death. In the documentary, Taryn Manning, who was in 8 Mile and also in Orange is the New Black, remember her as a free-spirited...
Wait, sorry, can you remind me who she is in Orange is the New Black?
I can't remember her character's name, but she was funny. She was a redneck.
Oh, yeah, a Pensa...
That's it.
Pensa...
Something.
Oh, I'm sorry, I need to quickly Google this because it's going to bug me.
Pennsatucky.
Pennsatucky.
Yeah.
Pennsatucky what?
I don't know. Did you have a surname?
It was something. Hang on, I'm sorry. I just need to Google it. Taryn Manning?
Yeah, Taryn Manning.
Yeah. Tiffany Pennsatucky Doggett.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. So, yeah, she remembered Brittany as free-spirited, whimsical, and full of laughter. So after the documentary premiere, Daniel Feinberg who wrote The Hollywood Reporter, that the documentary was 20% a reminder of Brittany's transcendent talent, 30% a dead-end investigation into the mystery of her death, and 50% an unenlightened examination of Murphy's late husband, and concluded his review saying that Brittany deserved better than the treatment she received in the media, which probably contributed to her husband's ability to control her in the way he did. I'm going to talk more about her husband because he really is a sick bastard. The Hollywood documentary strongly suggests that Brittany was famous during a particularly cruel time for women in Hollywood, as we said. And
the 90s were cruel for women in general.
Yeah,
we talked about this before.
Yeah.
The things that were just acceptable for women in the workplace, on the street.
So the late 90s and early 2000s were a time of extreme misogynist scrutiny in the media, heavy paparazzi surveillance, as well as the heyday of disgusting gossip bloggers like Perez Hilton, who was beyond vile and should have been silenced and canceled a long time ago. Back then, people should have been canceled. That should have been a thing back then, and he should have. But possibly worst of all, the culture gave way to an insecurity that left her vulnerable to the charms of Simon Monjack, who was revealed to be a manipulative con artist and even termed Conjack by the people who knew him. I mean, the cons are multiple and pretty extreme. He had secret kids that she never knew about. So yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She married him in 2007 after a failed intervention by her friends, and who even showed her evidence of his criminal history. He said he was a Hollywood screenwriter. He also lied about how he and Brittany met, so it didn't seem weird that they got married after 4 months. So he used to say to the press, "Oh, I've known her since she was 17, but I didn't want to touch her because she was too young." Because he was trying to portray himself like a decent guy, but he knew her for a long time, but he wasn't going to go there when she was young. But they'd actually only met recently.
Why would you go so far back as 17? Why not just say, "Oh, we've known each other on the scene a couple of years"?
The guy had questionable judgment, or none at all. So I don't know why he came up with that story. But he moved in with her and her mother, and shortly after began isolating Brittany from her friends by disconnecting her phone lines, cutting off all access to her. That didn't go through him.
Red flag.
Yep, by firing and taking on the role of her manager, agent, and even makeup artist on set.
What?
Yeah. It's weird. The whole thing's weird. So Brittany was fired from the last movie she would ever shoot in November 2009, after Simon showed up drunk on set. She got fired for that because she didn't deal with it, apparently. I can't remember what
I presume I'm going to make an assumption that wasn't the first time he turned up on set either, causing problems. I feel like, I mean, that's bad enough, but I feel like it was most probably because the amount of logistics and money you must lose if you fire one of the main stars from a film.
That's probably part of a bigger story.
It probably wasn't a one-off incident, right?
Yeah. So,
or he did something incredibly horrible when he turned up drunk.
Yeah. Do you want to hear some really twisted stuff?
I mean, yes and no, but go ahead.
So Brittany's mother and her husband routinely slept in the same bed after she died. And a post-death photo.
I heard, sorry, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that the three of them used to sleep in the bed together.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I did read that too. I read that too. I mean, all of this obviously is rumors. but it's not hard to believe. So and I'll tell you why. There is some evidence. So a post-death photo shoot featuring Sharon and Simon holding hands and staring into each other's eyes looked more like grieving parents as opposed to husband and mother-in-law, one of their insiders said. They also did a joint interview on Larry King Live, which is on YouTube, which is one of the weirdest things you'll see. I wouldn't recommend watching it because it's, you know...
Is it a proper cringe fest?
It's not that it's cringe, it's that it's weird. It's really weird and uncomfortable, but also it's sad because they're talking about Brittany's death, but it's also weird and uncomfortable. So they both appear extremely disoriented. Fair enough, this was within months after her death, because he died 5 months later, so it was in that period. And it didn't help to squash any rumors about their bizarre connection. So when Larry King presses Simon as to why he didn't want an autopsy on his wife's body, Simon said, his exact words, "This pristine body, curvy in all the right places, with skin like silk, how could I say cut it up in front of her mother?" Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to judge how people grieve, because everyone does it differently. But that made me feel really gross and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. His choice of words. Yeah.
Yeah. In the
But
context...
also, he did a lot of things that you just wouldn't expect a grieving person to do. So he made a video for Radar Online, gossip news outlet, it's not even a news outlet, just gossip fucking junk, said, "This is the infamous bathroom." He made a video for them. Yeah, it's on YouTube. I mean, the infamous bathroom. Would you use those words about the bathroom where your wife collapsed, you know?
Where you're, you know, big...
He made money from it. I mean, you know, you would just try to preserve. He even said, "Oh, well, there's the chaise longue that she collapsed on." I mean, it's just too morbid. Somebody who's grieving just would have too much respect for their deceased spouse to do that, I think.
And again, within months. This isn't...
Yeah.
No time has passed.
That was 3 months after, yeah. So, okay, so let me tell you more about him. He had 2 secret kids. Brittany never knew about them.
Did they know that about him? Like, did they... What was his relationship?
Were the kids aware?
Do you know?
None. So Brittany was not aware during her lifetime that he secretly had 2 kids with other women. While some of his family members and acquaintances knew of his daughter, because they were by 2 different women. The film marks the first public statement by his son's mother, Elizabeth Ragsdale, on her relationship with Simon, who proposed to her in Paris in the 90s. So after abandoning Elizabeth without a word while she was still pregnant, Simon finally contacted her again in 2007. So she was pregnant in the 90s. He contacted her in 2007 after he became engaged to Brittany by offering to buy her a house. Elizabeth said in the film that she believed Simon's intention was to buy her silence. So he met Brittany and he wanted to buy this woman's silence.
Oh.
Yeah. The stakes were a lot higher with him being married to Brittany, says Elizabeth. He didn't want anyone to know I was out there with his son. Yeah. So it wasn't...
And I'm guessing Brittany would have been buying that house without her knowledge.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he did spend her money. So apparently he spent $3 million of her money in 3 years. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if he's her manager, makeup artist, shoe shiner, all of these things, he's not working on anything else. She is his income.
Yeah. So following Simon's death, Sharon asked her publicist to pawn jewelry that Simon had given Brittany, including a replica of Audrey Hepburn's tiara from Breakfast at Tiffany's, so that she could pay her bills. Because Sharon was suffering financially, obviously, after she lost her cash cow. So Sharon's publicist had the items appraised, only to find out that they were fake and worthless, leaving Sharon essentially destitute. So Simon, you know, he was buying fakes and telling them that they were real. He spent an estimated $3 million of Brittany's money over a period of 3 years. And one of their former associates said he lived off this girl who had worked her heart out for every penny she had. He controlled every aspect of her life. Like I said, he became her agent, her business manager, and makeup artist. And it was the sort of classic patterns of a domestic abuser. He cut her off from all her old friends as their relationship progressed. So, and literally, they did not apparently leave the house. They boarded up windows. So there was some paranoia going on there as well. He took over her email account, confiscated her phone, assumed complete control over her money. All the while, Sharon is living with them. Why is Sharon not saying to Brittany, "This guy's not good, he's bad news"? Or why is Sharon not saying to Simon, fuck off, you know?
I mean, did he control and manipulate Sharon as well?
I think so. And, Sharon didn't have a history of making good choices with men, if we're basing it on her husband or her ex-husband. And
maybe she didn't want to lose her free ride.
Yeah, that's
my
feeling.
Rocking the boat.
Exactly. Going back to the arsenic theory, one of the rumors was that Brittany and Simon wanted to have a baby and move to New York without Sharon. And that was Sharon's revenge. That was one of the rumors. But I didn't go too much into rumors because I'd rather deal with fact. So Simon fired Brittany's entire professional team, became her sole manager of her career, negotiated sex scenes even. One director said she refused to do a planned kissing scene until he threatened within earshot of Simon to have her replaced. And yeah, he even did her makeup on set because he wanted to control how she looked. So
it's, to me, tells me he just didn't want anyone close to her to be able to form any relationship.
Yeah.
No chit chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So immediately after Brittany died, there was speculation of a drug overdose, mostly because of how young she was. But as we said, she apparently never did drugs, and she had a heart murmur as a kid. So she stayed away from coke. So multiple people interviewed for the documentary reported seeing her high and glassy-eyed on set and at industry events, alleging that her and Monjack would stay up all night doing downers and then take stimulants in the morning to stave off exhaustion. That's what was alleged. So it was apparently during these late night binges that Simon would encourage Brittany to participate in creepy photo shoots where he would apparently dress her like a doll, said one People magazine reporter. Yeah. So yeah, Los Angeles. That. No, I know. And it's believable because of the kind of language he uses to describe her. But Los Angeles County coroner also reports in the film that he found 90 prescription bottles on Simon's bedside table the night of Brittany's death, several in third-party names like Lola Manilow, which was an alias she used. Because apparently in the States, you can get out prescriptions under an alias. So she was taking prescriptions under her name, under her alias, Lola Manilow. She was taking Simon's prescriptions.
How do you do that?
I don't know. But apparently the pharmacy... apparently Sharon used to go to 6 different pharmacies to pick up their medicine, just so that it didn't appear dodgy. Yeah, because there's only so much that they will administer, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing about them sharing a bed, Sharon and Simon, is that after he died, Sharon's prescription pills were found on the bedside table of his bed. So it's creepy.
Yeah, but they could all be taking... That doesn't imply to me that they were... I mean, I think they probably were sharing a bed, but the fact that they were all just sharing all their prescriptions, the fact that her prescription bottles were on the bedside table doesn't necessarily mean that she slept there.
I'm not implying that they had a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
I just think they had a very weird one. And I think he had control over the mother too. She used to call him baby, which is weird. I don't know. The whole thing is weird. But so yeah, I mean, that's the story. So, I don't believe the rumors of Sharon and the poisoning. I don't believe that. I really don't want to believe that, because that's her mother. I think that, she was, an amazing actor and talented, but the combination of living under the microscope, being taken advantage of, having dysfunctional parents, an absent father, and a clearly dysfunctional mother, combined with horrendous time for women in the media, these were all... Then on top of that, just, being actually ruined by the media, criticized for her appearance, then, taking such an unhealthy turn and becoming so painfully thin, and then being taken advantage of by this guy, who just completely took over her life. These were all factors in her death. And, as we were saying, that women were treated poorly by the media, like treated as clickbait rather than, real people with families. I heard something so depressing. One of the most depressing things I've heard about this case. Mm-hmm. Because one of the main criticisms, isn't it, that she was actually ill for weeks and weeks. And they
just did not bring her to the doctor or the hospital. And
she collapsed
it's weird.
twice. today and the day before.
Because they had been traveling in the run up to this as well. I think they've been in the Caribbean or something, but that her mother and her husband didn't think to bring her to the doctor. But the thing that was really incredibly sad was I heard somewhere that if they had managed to get her to the hospital even 2 hours before, she might have survived.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. That's it. Every bit of research I did stated that she could have been saved had she gone, you know, or had they taken her. But yeah, I mean, the way the media treated her, as she said, it was humiliating, you know, and that exacerbated her self-esteem and her eating issues, which in turn resulted in anemia. And I think her low self-esteem must have been ultimately what led her into such a sinister relationship with Simon. And, you know, I don't like it when women are portrayed as victims when they're actually pretty astute and smart, because I think that's kind of insulting them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a very smart person can be taken advantage of when somebody is very, very convincing. I mean, look at the Tinder swindler, you know?
That's it. That's the one. If you think that you're not ever in a position to be manipulated in this way, I mean, Tinder swindler, this case, obviously they're extremes, but it happens so much, and it happens like slowly, you know, it happens without you realizing. And if you watch Tinder swindler and you see these
or
people,
listen to Sweet Bobby, the podcast, you can see how these things happen. So the people that knew him, they actually described him as being spellbindingly believable and that he led with authority. And I can kind of see that. I mean, he was weird in a cult leader sort of a way, you know? He was weird, but, you know, I mean, he claimed to be a billionaire, a British heir, owning the largest art collection in the world. You know, I can see how, I don't know. I'd like to think I wouldn't believe him, but I can see how people can be believable when they're very convincing.
Especially in the context of LA, you're meeting lots of like rich people and high flyers.
Do you know what else I think? Do you know what else I think what added to him being convincing was the fact that he was from the UK. So it was harder to do background checks. For him to say, oh, I'm a billionaire back home, a British heir, you know, it's easier to make that believable in a different country, you know?
Yeah, and if you're flashing the cash or whatever, people will have no reason to doubt you.
Yeah. But, you know, in all of this, I blame the parents the most. The absent father, in previous episodes, from We Knew the Moon, we talked about, you know, absent fathers and the effect that could have. And, you know, to be honest, a mother is a fucking whack job as well. You know, someone who's completely lived off of Brittany's success, negligent, whack job at best and negligent at worst, you know? If you see your child that sick, I don't know how you can turn a blind eye. And the way she was controlled by Simon,
they should be done for manslaughter.
Yeah.
Or like whatever you get charged for when you drive away from an accident.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, seeing something happen and not doing something about it. And the thing is, you know, I don't know, parenting does not stop when your child turns 18. And those people who think it does are negligent parents.
If you were even just rooming with someone and they were collapsing, you'd take them to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, if you were in a hotel and someone was collapsing in the lobby, I'm trying to think of, you know.
Yeah. Well, they were worried. They were scared because of all the drugs they were taking under different names and, you know, all of that, you know. So, yeah, I blame the parents first and foremost. You know, her mother, who apparently uprooted her life to follow Brittany around as a child actor. Those stories never turn well, child actor stories. But she should have done more to protect her, you know? So I do blame the parents. And her dad should have been more present in her life during her lifetime.
What happened to his mob contacts when his daughter started going out with this Bella?
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah. So yeah, it's sad. She was failed by a lot of people. And that's what makes this very, very fucking sad story. So yeah, R.I.P. Brittany. I'm going to watch Clueless today just as a nice palate cleanser because this has been sad.
And part of her sad story, wasn't she, didn't she go out with Heath Ledger?
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't come across that.
Oh my God, did I make that up? Sorry, Googling. Heath Ledger, Brittany Murphy. I thought they were. Oh, bless, a bunch of pictures have come up with her looking just not well. Yeah, I don't know whether, maybe I made that up, but yeah, they come up a lot together in the same articles, but obviously because they both died in really unfortunate, really sad circumstances. But I thought they had dated at some point, but maybe I'm no. I think it would have come up in your research. It would have.
Yeah, I didn't come across that. But yeah, so that is the sad story of Brittany Murphy. Oh. Unfortunately, I don't think many of our podcast episodes are going to end happily ever after.
Well, okay, so I wonder what would have happened, because clearly no one actually murdered her in the true sense of, or the legal sense of the word, right? I wonder what would have happened if her husband remained alive. Whether anyone would have felt the need to kind of pursue this case.
Yeah. Well, her dad was, to be fair, after she died, he was.
How active was he in pursuing it after Simon died, though?
I think that was when, I think it was because there were two deaths. Oh, yeah, of the same nature.
But then he died.
Yeah.
So I wonder how far it would have gone and how much legal accountability. And clearly the public opinion was that Simon contributed heavily to her death.
Yeah. But you know what was really sad is that immediately, as soon as she died, it was just reported that it was a coke overdose. Immediately. That they just, immediately go to that. I think, people always go to the worst case scenario, or like they jump to the worst conclusion, And also I remember reading on lots of different accounts that she would spend loads of time in the bathroom on film sets, just be in the bathroom, and people would speculate that she was doing drugs, but, or was it an eating disorder? And it's that people always go to the worst conclusion. Whereas actually, to be honest with you, was she just fucking overwhelmed and wanted some time on her own? Because the bathroom is the only place you can go to be alone. Especially when your life is surrounded by people. You've got a husband like Simon who follows you around like a fucking surveillance camera. I mean, who doesn't escape to the bathroom to be alone sometimes, And if she was in there for half an hour, I mean, that's she needed a break. So even that, I didn't like those rumors because I just thought, leave her alone. Like, let her go to the fucking bathroom without people spreading rumors about eating disorders or doing drugs,
I had a very small example of this happen in my life where I had been working really hard, exercising, eating healthily, and so forth, and had managed to lose a lot of weight and get in better shape than I had been previously. And this girl approached a girl in our circle of friends approached my friend who was closer to me to ask him if I had an eating disorder, because I'd gone to the bathroom after lunch or dinner or whatever at the pub. And obviously that made me fucking fuming, because it's like, I'm sorry, but if you are genuinely concerned,
go to the person. Yeah, go to the person directly. Go to the person directly. Exactly.
Also, I just needed a wee. I had already had a conversation with her because she'd already commented on how I looked really well, blah, blah, blah. I'd had a conversation with her about how I'd been exercising. You remember, it was a time where I was training for half marathons. I was eating well. She could see from my menu choice that I was trying to be like considerate. I wasn't drinking alcohol that day. So just think like, and also the fact that I came from a woman, it's like, can you give us a break? Can we just do normally bodily functions?
Yeah, exactly.
When you have to start 5 minutes,
I know,
without having to defend ourselves.
Exactly. I remember hearing a rumor once that, she must be, not about me, but somebody must be doing drugs because they take their handbag to the toilet with them. But no, I mean, who leaves it at the table? Do you know what I mean? Like, the amount of rumors that people rumors are a dangerous thing, and that's why I don't like to really, when I'm doing podcast research, I like to just actually deal with the facts, because
yeah, we will going forward make it very clear when things are speculation. And we are going to try to base everything in fact. or at least things from witnesses at the time, or people
with our
involved
take
with
on
the case.
it. With our take on it,
For sure, because we can't keep quiet about that. But yeah, just stay away from those like harmful, easy judgments that we've been sort of trained.
Because do you know what? It's actually quite common that people will go to the bathroom to escape overwhelm. Do you know what?
What I wanted to say is that it made me really angry, but then it actually genuinely hurt, and it made me really paranoid and upset. Like, shit, is this what people might be thinking about me? And that was such a small scale thing, a comment from someone who I didn't really know, and the comment wasn't taken seriously by my friend, blah, blah, blah. So I can't even imagine it on such a large scale as like being a celebrity and having every element of your life judged, and all these assumptions, these harmful assumptions made, which are only going to make her mental health situation worse. Because, you know, poor girl. Poor girl. And so young. I mean,
32. Yeah. So, I mean, I wish I could tell you that the stories are going to get more uplifting after this episode.
Do we know what's happened to the mom? Is she still with us?
Oh, she's still kicking around.
Wonder if she's still living in that house.
Don't know. I stopped with the story there. Because, the mother made me angry.
Just shout out to Mama Safier for being...
Yeah. You're a good woman.
Yeah. You're a strong woman. And a kind woman. Thanks for taking us to the hospital every time we needed it.
And for making sure that we're not too cold when we go outside. But, do you know what? As our first episode, I really hope that our listeners enjoyed it. And you know what? Please send us your comments, your feedback, ideally positive.
We're going to have, we don't take criticism well, but we'll listen to constructive feedback.
Tell us, please DM us if you want any more from a true crime. What else? What did we leave uncovered?
What are we missing? But yeah, so I can tell you that the next podcast episode is one that is very, I won't say close to our hearts or dear to our hearts, because it's just very close to our lives, I suppose. Geographically and chronologically, time-wise. Yeah. It's Levi Belfield. And we say that because we grew up very close to where he was performing his attacks. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean, where he was operating. And it was at a time when we were of the age of the victims. So it was something that we were very aware of at the time of growing up. And and I now live in the area still. You are still very close. I've been freaking myself out with the research. I know he's in prison, and I'm still like, because it's just so unpleasant, this guy. So yeah, check out the next episode to hear all about Levi Belfield, the scum that is Levi Belfield. Oh, we forgot to talk about our giveaway.
Oh, okay, go for it.
So if you write us a review on Apple Podcasts, and if you sign up to our mailing list on our website, take a screenshot of both and email it to us, Switchblade Sisters Social Club @gmail.com. Then we will enter you in a prize draw for some free goodies. We've got a bunch of our merch and some other extra bonuses. We've got my lunar planner that I produce every year. We've got some stuff from you as well, don't we?
My notebooks.
Yeah, some Shio stuff. So it'll be just a box full of fun goodies. So do that. Leave us a review. Share. Just help us. Help us out.
Tag us on DM us. Get involved. We are at the other end of those DMs and the other end of the email.
Oh my God, it makes our day when people reach out, doesn't it? It's like, oh my God, people like us. So
on that note, I was just going to say, on that note, thank you so much. And we love you and appreciate you.
Oh my God, we really do. So love you too. You're the best sister.
You too.
Okay. Bye.
Hey there. Thanks for being a loyal listener.
Do you need a new website or want to boost your social media performance? Or do you hate podcast editing?
You've tried optimizing your website and social media channels, but you're still not getting the listeners, downloads, and engagement you want?
We, the Safier sisters, love helping people with tasks that they hate. We know a thing or two about podcasts, websites, and social media, and we love working with other podcasters and business owners.
So why not head over to switchbladesisterssocialclub.com and go to our Work With Us section. We believe in collaboration over competition. A rising tide raises all ships.
Bye!